using the framework of cognitive load theory to assess reliability barriers in criminal interrogations. Within the judicial and criminal justice system, there is a significant problem regarding the reliability of information provided in criminal interrogations. Many studies have attempted to understand the reasoning behind specific reliability issues, one of the main ones being false confessions. High-pressure, aggressive, and intense interrogation methods significantly elevate this likelihood. Another issue commonly seen is the investigator's inability to recall and provide accurate information regarding witness or suspect statements, especially when handling complex tasks or experiencing high cognitive strain. This can be explained through cognitive load theory, CLT, which proposes that when one's cognitive capacity is exceeded, cognitive function decreases. This analysis aims to assess the factors that lead to information reliability errors, focusing on how interrogation methods designed to invoke excessive cognitive strain impact false confessions and memory accuracy in interviews. Cognitive load theory, developed by Australian psychologist John Sweller in the 1980s, explains the mechanisms that affect how we learn complex information. Though often used in the education field, it is also applicable across various fields in psychology. CLT introduced new understandings of working memory limitations and how to optimize learning through managing different types of cognitive load. CLT argues that working memory can only process 5 to 9 pieces of information at once, and that without rehearsal, this information decays rapidly. It builds on schema theory, suggesting that long-term memory stores information into structured cognitive schemas. Learning, therefore, involves the creation and automation of these schemas. When exposed to large amounts of new or complex information, our brains experience excessive cognitive load. Sweller proposed that cognitive load consists of 3 types: intrinsic, extraneous, and germane. Intrinsic load refers to the task's inherent complexity and how many elements must be processed simultaneously. Extraneous load is influenced by how the information is presented. Unclear or poorly structured presentation increases cognitive strain. Germane load is the mental effort used to convert new information into long-term knowledge. Total cognitive load is the combined of all 3. When it exceeds working memory's capacity, individuals experience cognitive overload. Cognitive overload impairs several mental abilities, such as information processing, decision-making, knowledge retention, and resistance to suggestion. These impairments often lead to poor judgment and increased susceptibility. While overload can occur naturally in stressful situations, it can be intensified by sleep deprivation, emotional distress, fear, and threat, all of which are common in high-pressure situations, such as a criminal interrogation. There are various interrogation methods, but the way and timing of their use greatly influences both their efficacy and reliability. Interrogations often include long hours, confusion, and psychological pressure, factors that raise intrinsic and extraneous load beyond the working memory limits. This leads to impaired decision-making, memory errors, increased suggestibility, and reduced resistance to pressure, all of which drastically heighten the risk of false confession. This connection between interrogations, cognitive overload, and information reliability was explored in a 2022 study posted in the Journal of Police and Criminal Psychology, which used CLT to evaluate interrogation styles, introducing a new method called the cognitive interviews of the suspects, or the CIS. The study argued that high false confession rates are caused by traditional techniques, and proposed CIS as a passive, information-focused alternative to the traditional interrogation techniques. The study compares false confession rates between CIS, the information gathering method, IGM, and the accusatory information interview method, which is the AIM. Since CIS and IGM were similar in outcome, this presentation compares only CIS and AIM. The study had 125 students participate in the forbidden key paradigm, where they were falsely accused of pressing a key that caused a computer crash. Each was then randomly assigned to one of the 3 interrogation methods. CIS is a structured questionnaire designed to gather detailed information through methods like mental context reinstatement and report everything prompts. While it includes cognitive strain tactics like reverse order recall, these are carefully controlled to avoid overload and instead enhance memory recall. In contrast, the AIM, which is modeled on the Reid technique, aims to increase cognitive load through intimidation. It follows 3 stages: isolation, creating emotional distress, accusation, direct confrontation and denial of rebuttal, and minimization, shifting the tone to sympathy and offering moral justification. The CIS and AIM are fundamentally different. The AIM seeks a confession through confrontation and manipulation, often using unethical practices like interrupting denials and leveraging guilt. These tactics deliberately induce cognitive and emotional overload, making compliance more likely. CIS, by contrast, encourages cooperative, neutral interaction, avoids assumption, and uses structured techniques to aid truthful recall without overwhelming cognitive capacity. The results of this study showed that CIS yielded the most accurate information and the lowest false confession rate, sitting at 2.4 false confessions, while AIM produced the highest false confession rate, sitting at 52.5%. When analyzing the methods through the lens of CLT, it is clear which one will be the most effective at receiving reliable information. The AIM overwhelms all three types of load, leading to total cognitive overload, impairing rational thinking and heightened susceptibility to manipulation. The CAS, however, applies cognitive strain strategically to enhance recall without crossing the threshold into overload. A second study, published by the British Psychological Society, shifted the focus to the interviewer, investigating how cognitive load affects memory accuracy. Interviewers must listen, process details, remember questions, judge accuracy, assess deception, and maintain conversation. These are all tasks that create high cognitive demand and elevate overload risk. Using the framework of CLT, researchers hypothesized that increased cognitive load would reduce interviewers' recall accuracy and question quality. 99 participants were assigned to one of three groups: high, moderate, or no cognitive load, as represented by HCL, MCL, or NCL. They then watched a mock witness statement. HCL participants had to plan questions while watching, as well as piecing together the entire story based on information provided. MCL participants simply focused on understanding, and NCL participants just listened. Afterwards, all completed a free recall and cued recall test to assess their memory of the statements and how accurate their memory recall was, as well as a NASA TLX survey to measure cognitive load. Results showed that the HCL group reported the highest cognitive strain and lowest recall accuracy, followed by MCL. NCL performed the best in both tasks. These findings confirm that as cognitive load increases, memory accuracy and information quality decline. It's also important to note that even the HCL group did not fully simulate real-world conditions, where interviewers must also maintain ongoing dialogue, recall prior plans, and manage the stress of a real investigation. This suggests that in actual practice, interviewer memory may be even more compromised. When an interviewer's memory is significantly distorted by overload, it undermines the validity of any recalled statements, creating ethical and legal risks. Inaccurate recollections could influence case outcomes and sentencing, making the reliability of interrogations questionable. Both studies use CLT to assess how cognitive overload, whether induced by the interviewer or experienced by them, affects reliability. The first study focused on active induced overload in the suspect via specific tactics. The second focused on passive task-based overload in the interviewer. Despite different sources of strain, both found that once working memory is overwhelmed, the validity and accuracy of information suffer. These results raise critical questions. If both the interviewer and suspect can be so easily cognitively compromised, can we trust the outcomes of these interviews? Should such statements be admissible in court without such strong reliability safeguards? There is, however, potential for change. If CLT is used when designing investigative procedures, cognitive demands can be better managed. Strategies might include using CAS instead of AIM, or dividing interviews between multiple investigators to reduce cognitive burden and allow for cross-verification and test-retest reliability. As shown in both CLT-focused studies, applying CLT to current and future interviews and interrogation styles can lead to better methods for ensuring information gathered in legal contexts is both accurate and reliable. References provided here.